Hello, beautiful, lovely gamers. My name is Jonal. Today we are doing a how to carry with Tracer. One of the, in my opinion, the most fun heroes to play in the game, but one that has also been struggling a lot. You can even see some of the best Tracers like Abachi, Defran, and so on, and Craggy will have issues playing this in rank. I certainly do. I'm not even on their, I'm not even close to their levels, and I also do struggle playing Tracer in rank. Today we are talking about how you can do it. How can you carry? How can you destroy with Tracer? What's the win condition? So more people start picking up this hero. There's so many people that I know that love playing Tracer or can play Tracer, but never picks her up because they've heard that she's not meta. So let's talk a little bit about how you can clown on people. Of course, again, the higher elo you get, the more difficult it becomes. If you're playing this in pro teams, especially higher tier pro teams, this become more and more problematic. Sometimes you have to understand that you need to swap, but there's so many situations where Tracer is just the one right pick, and you can just use her to shit on everybody else. And of course, a like on the video helps against YouTube's abusive algorithm. Comment down below what hero you guys want to see in future episode of How to Carry. And besides that, if you want to hire me as a private coach, 50 euros for a 2-hour session, hit me up on a Discord server down below. Doesn't matter if you're bronze or top 500, I can help you improve and rank up either way. Now, Tracer is a very big hit and run character. Her job is, and she's a true flanker. Like, a lot of people call Genji the flanker and they try to play him in the backline, but Genji is not supposed to play in the backline. Tracer is. She's one of those heroes that you can use to off angle and to play in the backline with at the same time. She has the flexibility to really do most things. The one thing that she's not as good as with other heroes is to directly brawl on a point. If you play Tracer on an objective, you normally end up running around a lot tight on the outside of the objective. Of course, her two guns, her Pulse 5 guns or whatever the fuck they're called, Pulse pistols they're called, are very, very strong. Doing a lot of damage. If you have the tracking, you can delete on one mag and so on, and there's a lot of tricks and so on. But the real core of Tracer's kit is her mobility and her recall, her survivability. On top of that, she has Pulse Bomb. So when you're dealing, you have a lot of damage, you have a lot of mobility, and you have an ultimate that builds really fast. This also rewards high skills. Pulse Bomb, ideally, if you can stick 100%, if you have a 100% hit rate and you can stick any hero on the enemy team, you can always start a 5 in a 5v6, right? By always just pulse pumping one of the DPS supports. And in 2-2, this is even more so. You can trade and win duels by assassinating. Again, you can delete people in one magazine if they have 200 HP. You can melt tanks with just pure headshots. That is the strength of this hero. But on top of that, you can play it in a way that can be very disruptive. One of my favorite ways is to do it like this. Imagine that you are playing Eichenwald. And especially this works especially really great if you are playing against an enemy team. You can play in the enemy backline. So if the enemy team is trying to push through the choke here. So again, if you are playing, you have kind of lost. They are trying to kind of get the payload through this choke here. And whatever, they logically have their front line, which is the red team. Here, you have your front line, which is, again, this doesn't have to be Ryan's. It's just, just a placeholder for whatever front line you're playing with, right? You guys have your front line, they have their front line, and for some reason, you wanna, again, this works especially great in the lower elos where they don't know how to deal with this. And the enemy team, they want to push, they want to do their things, your team want to kind of try to hold this. Where's their support, of course, as this brawling and fighting is going on, majority of DPSs and supports will be stuff like, on the payload here, trying to heal, maybe even further back than that again, especially if your team is holding, very close, they kind of forced to hold a little bit further back. And that's what you want to abuse. The fact that the enemy team, they want to commit with their, tanks, they want to commit with their, DPSs, which I'll use Hanzo as a placeholder here. Right? They want to commit, they want to deal damage, and this is where you come in. If you play in the area of the backline, you essentially always keep pressure on their supports, and that's the whole idea. The fact that the Tracer, again, if you play any other hero and you do this, you're feeding like a motherfucker. If you play Kree, right? Oh, I'm a Kree, and they just start looking at you and start dealing damage. You have to go back, you have to run for health packs, this takes you out of the fight, and while you're out of the fight, they will just start killing people. They can heal each other, they can pocket each other, you don't have the burst. Theoretically, a Widowmaker could work, right? If the Widowmaker is, far behind here and can one-tap everybody. But again, it doesn't take a long time for the enemy team to just dodge her LOS, and then the Widowmaker have to go up close, and then she dies, right? So, all of this hero, including someone like Genji, again, he has dash and deflect, right? So he can play, over here at the car, but he cannot burst this Zenyatta unless he's practically aimbotting fast enough that it's worth for him playing there. A Tracer can, again, because if this guy gets low, he has to run for health back. A Tracer can very easily do that. The amount of mobility to do this, she can kind of come from any angle that she wants. She can blink around. She's very good at taking these duels. Top of that, she has the damage to follow up on that. She has her recall, meaning giving her sustain and survivability. She can, even if she's here and she want to get out, she can blink out because of her fast movement. right? If you're playing down here, right, and you're normally this gate is open at some of these locations, right? But it's just a random backline, right? If you want to get out, it's just blink and then dodge, blink, blink, and then you're here, right? And you can do it far more effective than that, right? If you really know how to play Tracer well, right? You can dodge here, rest, you get your blink back, 2 blinks there, right? There's so many things that you could do with this hero, and you can come from any angle, right? If there's supports there, you can go down here, start bowling, start fighting, see that okay, this is lost, I'll recall, and I'm out, right? I have the health back, I can blink here, and this is the point. By that point, as soon as you're blinked into the castle, you're blinked away. For example, if you try to play in the back line, it's about the fact that I'm gonna be on your back line constantly. I can, if somebody's out of position, if somebody's alone, if somebody gets low, if somebody's standing still, if you guys are not protecting your back line, I will show up on that back line and I will kill somebody. I will kill whoever's alone because I'm such a great duelist. I have recall and all the stuff. And if, you know, you start dueling and fighting and they wanna, you know, chase you, very well, they can't catch you. Like, these 3 blinks right here, they're gonna be all the way up here, right? From the same position, like for my McCree, for example, that's over here. He has to run like this, right, to try to catch you. Or a tank, or whoever's coming out there. And now he's there. And that takes so much time that he can't chase you. You can just blink around, right? You can just go for health packs, pick this thing up, right? Challenge him again. Okay, you recall back, right? You can fight again, right? You can blink here, blink, blink. Now you're here, right? He has to run all the stairs to get to you, right? Wait, bam, 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 bada, bam. Blink over, get to this, right? So on and so on. You have so much mobility that catching you is very difficult. The one thing that people do wrong with Tracer, though, is that they are not active enough. Tracer is not about, you know, running around like this. Like, you don't want to do flanks that takes too long, because again, you want to be active, right? So flanks like that, right, where, for example, okay, I know the enemy team is there. Okay, I'll flank. So I'll go here, and I'll burn all my blinks, and I'll kind of walk, and now I'm behind them, and I just have to kind of get up here, right? You see how long time this takes, even when I burn my blinks, because you want someone to blink for the combat, right? But doing stuff like, okay, I know that they are capping this point. I can hide here. This works especially great in low elos. So you can hide here, or you can hide behind this tank, especially in low elos. In high elos, or if you're really smart, you know, a lot of people like to play on these high grounds, especially playing top here, right? Because from here, you know, you can kind of scout, you can kind of see what's going on. You can also get to here, right? You can do all these kind of things with Tracer that gives you access to them. And again, you decided, okay, I wanna start fighting the opposing team. Great. Okay, they're dealing a lot of damage. I'm gonna just go heal, and I'm back in the fray already, right? That took me no time to do. And that's the beauty of a Tracer player. So much damage, so much mobility, impossible to catch, and the position that you can take, you can position on like backlines and flanks and above them. And if they try to catch you, you can just run away. You have survivability. If they try to take you on a 1v1, you have the potential to duel them with recall and blinks and damage and pulse bombs, and you have so much pick potential and playing around. The issue with Tracer is that this gives you a weaker main group. You're playing around, you're trying to assassinate the backline, you're trying to assassinate the DPSs, the squishies, even poke, you know, harass some of the tanks from different angles. But in the end, that does that if the opposing team, while you are fighting or dueling or blinking around, or even these very short rotation, right, where you're kind of dueling, and then you have to go for the health pack, and even though you know now you're back, now you kind of have to re-engage this and fight it. If your team is not strong enough, if your main group is not strong enough, they can be losing the fight by now. If your main group needs somebody that's there physically, right? Like, they don't need you to assassinate the backline. They need you up here and dealing damage. Well, yes, you can do that with Tracer, right? You can take angles and stick the tanks and so on. You can do that, of course. But then there's a lot of time other heroes that serve this purpose better. On top of that, there are some team composition that's very difficult to do this against. Team composition such as, you know, May Reaper, because all of a sudden the DPSs are not viable picks because, you know, they can Ray Foam and Ice Cube themselves, so they have immortality against that. If they also play like Orisa, okay, so then now you can't bullet a tank. If they also play a Sigma or a Hog, which also are very survivable, now you can't really assassinate the tank line, you can't really assassinate the Reaper or the May. At that point, you're relying for your team to force out some of these abilities and create and make them low so you can assassinate them for you. And then on top of that, they have like Moira on the backline, which again is super difficult to get to because she has fade and healing and damage, so that's very easy for it to use. And so they also have a Baptiste, which have immortality field, right? Then you can start seeing that this style of abusing that people are alone and taking them out in a 1v1, or if they, you know, if they are, you know, very passive on the backline, then maybe you can assassinate the tanks or bullet the tanks. very quickly goes away when everybody has incredible sustain and incredible damage. And at that point, that's where you want to start looking at maybe it's time to swap off the Tracer for somebody that has a more traditional hard damage, such as a Hanzo. But it's ranked. You won't always face this in ranked, and when you're facing it in lower elos of rank, a lot of these abilities are wasted. Immortality Field, Fortify, Hog's Healer, Ray Foam, Ice Cube, all of these are very early, are normally burned very early for a lot of low elo players. This comes from all the hours I have had in private coaching. So you have to remember that is also a very big factor when it comes onto playing this in lower elos, that while they seem very difficult on paper, in the lower elos, you can abuse the fact that they are wasting their cooldowns quite a lot. So that's Tracer. I tried to make this in a little bit of a different style than I made the others, with a little bit less theory and a little bit less comparison, and just straightly talking about playstyle for Tracer and how you can use that to just abuse the enemy team. Try to put yourself in the shoe of a Zenyatta player. If there's a Tracer on the back line who always one clips you, right, and your team doesn't deal with her, but you can't go up to your front line because then you die to their front line, but you can't stay in the back line because then you die to the Tracer, and your McCree for some reason can't kill this Tracer because every time he runs after her, she just escapes, or he dies to a duel, right? That's very difficult for them. Now, of course, a like on the video really does help out. Comment down below what hero you want to see next, so I know that you guys are liking this series. Subscribe with bell notification. Please take care, stay positive. I love you guys very much. Happy holidays, and always, guys, my name is Jonal, and you guys keep the enemy in your crosshair.